See the world die. So how to be free?
God the Father is the source of missions because He is a missionary God. God is not a sitting God. God is a going God. How do I know that? I know that from the Bible itself in the book of Genesis, right there in the Garden of Eden. He could have condemned them to death and created two brand new human beings to continue to propagate the human race. But He didn't do that. Something stopped Him. What stopped God? Love. He is a loving God. The Bible says that God is love. Okoya sarangan nalaloma. Kaya mga takila na kalo, may loma lang inalebo niyo na nalaloma aturan marama. Ngala kobi raw yan, yan naman rosa. Punitagi raw kina, ni rosa ayali man ay seraw ni kalo aturan marama. That's the love of God. Nalaloma ni kalo esang nindon raw nangauna nindrendre. Nalaloma ni kalo esang nindro tagi kanda ninday balbalda. Nalaloma ni kalo ngala kobi kanda mai enabanua lolo birani balbalda nabulki. Even when you have sinned, you've turned your heart away from God, the love of God will never run away from you. Enabuna kakina chisu ausala kamay mo baka sangara kabangambula nakasayali. And God the Father demonstrated that in the Garden of Eden on that day. In Genesis 3:9, when He came to them where they were hiding because they could not go back in perfect fellowship with God because of their wrong choice, that relationship was severed because of sin. Sa may ramuso na bewa kanini kaloga na tomata, ni anding itaka na tomata mesalota ni may buwan. What is sin? Sin is simply when man declares independence from God. Sin is deliberate disobedience to the will of God. Sin when you turn your back towards God and you turn your focus to the world and to the devil. You see, they believe more in the voice of the devil than the voice of God. But God, because of His sovereign grace, that unmerited favor. What is grace, ladies and gentlemen? Grace to me is the highest expression of the love of God. You may be watching this morning, you're living in sin. And you may be asking this question, can God's forgiveness and grace cover my sin? My friend, let me tell you, there's no sin too big, too high, or too deep that God's forgiveness cannot erase. God's grace is sufficient for you. And God Himself being the source of missions, God the Father, He walked into the garden. That's why I'm saying He was a missionary God. This is God the first missionary reaching out to fallen humanity. Nakalawa ka tagi ko nang daw kaulatu sa alawayan ni kinabanua sa punitagi ko kina na tomata no buko ni bala da ngai kadian ni nang mana atama o sa tigo ibe. Adam, where are you? If God has to call your name right now and ask you that question, where are you? What would your response be? Anakadi nilalama turangan maraba. Anataro nilalama enamataka ni singan dayday. Mere o sa tigoy Chone o sa tigoy Marika, where are you, my friend? This is the voice of God, and this is the voice of love, crying out, reaching out to you. It doesn't matter where you are, how far away from God you are, how deep in sin you've lived your life. That voice is still calling out. Just as God the Father called out to Adam, where are you? Is calling out to you this morning. Sambera ni alibakan dua nakadi ni loloba. Nakadi ni loloma, nakadi ni kawai. Nakadi ni senangan rama mendua rusa marawata ng bulan na. And every time I preach from this pulpit, I preach about the love of God.
I see what you see. Lord, you know me and use me. For the bound to to